Thank you all so much for having me. Thank you, Rebbetzin, for your introduction. As the Rebbetzin said, she read about me, and that's kind of in reference to an article that was written about my husband and I. There was one in the Jewish Report, one in the Jewish Life. Basically, almost a year ago, we kind of decided to sell our house, most of our furniture, and build what you might call a tiny house on my in-laws' property. We actually converted the garage and we called it the EcoPod. It was a one-bedroom. We have two children, Bia and Hora, a girl and a boy. But they never used their bedrooms. They would invariably sleep with us the whole night anyway, and there wasn't much sleeping. It was always something. And we lived in this ginormous four-bedroom. Okay, it wasn't ginormous, but I'm saying we felt it was ginormous. And we just never really used the house. And there was like a formal dining room and a breakfast nook and a patio with patio furniture and a maid's room and a scullery and a Pesach kitchen. Like, there were all the things that you're supposed to have when you're an adult. And, you know, we actually waited a long time to buy a home in this particular complex because we always kind of were like, one day when we're adults, we'll live there. And then we did live there, and we weren't really living there. We were just kind of there, and we kind of were just like, when this happens, then. Kind of when you say to yourself, when I have that car, then I'll be like such and such, you know? And then one day my husband was just like, let's sell the house. And I just sell everything anyway. I'm constantly like selling the couch that I'm sick of and this and that. So I was like, okay, cool. And we did, and we moved in with my mom, and we built this EcoPod. And then we moved into the EcoPod. We have subsequently moved out of the EcoPod. We were there for pretty much 6 months to the day, which is a talk in and of itself. The whole going in and going out and making minimalism my religion without knowing it, which it's not. Judaism's my religion. But I think that's why people think I'm interesting. And obviously this wasn't a decision that we made in a split second. I had kind of discovered all these sorts of ideas in tandem with becoming frum, as it were, 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, when I was 20, 21, 22, 23, around that time. I've always been a seeker. I did psychology and philosophy at varsity. Like, I've always been interested in just figuring things out. And when I was 22, around about that time, as I say, I only became frum in my 20s. I went to King David. So around about that time, I said to my friend, you know, I'm actually going to go to Israel and do a summer program in a seminary. Do you want to come with me? There was a moment one day in Sem where the Rebbetzin, who I assume had like coined certain phrases, or sometimes you kind of, when you're dealing with people in a particular position, especially when it's something as sensitive as religion or politics and so forth, and especially this Sem, there were generally women of varying ages and degrees of being frum. You kind of always have to have an answer ready for the hard questions, you know, like where was God in the Holocaust? If someone's not 100% convinced yet about God or Torah or Judaism, you really have to have those kind of answers lined up. So someone in the group, it was like one of our introductory days, someone in the group asked a question, I can't remember what she said, and the Rebbetzin said the following: everything that's in the Torah is true, but everything that's true is not necessarily in the Torah. And I wasn't sure how that sat with me at the time. This concept about there are truths that exist which aren't in the Torah. But at the same time, the Torah is the blueprint of the world, and the Torah, in fact, was created before the world was created, not the other way around. I was very uncomfortable. And then, as I say, at the same time, I was kind of reading up on, like, just like for funsies, cool ideas about minimalism, which I'm not sure those of you who are familiar with the concept, it's like choosing less for the sake of having more. So having less to do so that you have more free time, having less clothes so that you have, more relaxation in the morning, less decision fatigue. There's a movement called the zero waste movement, where basically you reduce everything, all the trash of your home. Your goal is to kind of reduce it to a mason jar per year. There's another movement called the tiny house movement, which I kind of dabbled in when we moved into Boba's garage. And these things just kind of intrigued me all the time. Two things have emerged for me. Number one, which I touched on earlier, is that none of these things are a religion. Yiddishkeit is a religion. Judaism is a religion, and it's the universal truth. So if something resonates with me as being true, and this brings me to my second conclusion and my second point, it must be Torah. It can't be that somewhere in the human capabilities, some new truth is going to emerge that God didn't know about first. It can't be. It's just, in philosophy, you learn about the logical form of the argument. It's called formal logic. They teach it in like a math stream in some of the degrees and in philosophy. And there's symbols, and it's like a mathematical equation. And basically it's one of the most famous ones, and Aish use it a lot, is what's called the intelligent designer argument, whereby if you're in a forest and there's trees and greenery and animals and the sounds and streams, and it's untouched by human hands, there's no industry, you're in a forest, and you stumble across a Rolex watch, you won't assume that Rolex watch spontaneously occurred in the forest. Just by common sense, you will assume that someone of superior intelligence to the watch itself created this watch independently of the watch existing. How can it be that something like minimalism, an idea that if you have less to worry about, you will have less to worry about, is new? Just because someone stuck a label on it called minimalism. The truth, obviously, is going to be contained in the blueprint first. So what I came to conclude, everything that's in the Torah is true, and everything that's true is in the Torah. And ever since then, I've had this perfect clarity about whenever you I resonate with something as feeling inspiring or meaningful, don't get confused that this thing is a religion. Yiddishkeit is my religion. And therefore, not only will these ideas and these inspirations and so on and so forth and these pockets of thought and truth be contained in Judaism, they will be sitting there in their exemplary perfect form with an instruction manual. It's just semantics how it's phrased. There's a new movement called 24 hours technology free. Guys, I don't know if you've ever experienced 24 hours, a brand new concept this. To go for 24 hours without the use of technology, I'd never heard of that before until I saw it on social media. Hello, we've got a whole religion over here. It's called Shabbos. You just keep Shabbos every week, and we don't even think about it. Do you think about it? Do you think to yourself, I am going to do this modern thing called turning off my phone for 24 hours? Why am I telling you all of these things? Because people kind of know me or place me in the context of like the girl who does the decluttering, the girl who lived at the eco pod, the girl who's into minimalism. And I keep telling people I'm not a minimalist. I'm not an eco warrior. I'm just a frum yid. It just so happens that we're in this bitter, awful galus, and so all the MS and all the truth of our Torah life is desperately difficult. We are so distracted, and there's so much. We spoiled for choice. The point of my introduction, of my story, my brief story, is that there's no brilliant self-help book, proverbial or otherwise, out there that is going to offer you something better than you can find right here. What's the relevance to Elul? Because that's all well and good, and it's very lofty. Just be from, and everything will be fine. I'm from, everything's not fine in my life. I'm sure you all have perfect lives. Okay, obviously the point is to pursue the best version of ourselves, to find what resonates with us, to work on ourselves, to elevate our strengths, to forgive our weaknesses, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. But now it's Elul. What are we going to do? What are we going to do for him? I was so excited about this idea that I just brought everything together for me. So again, the context of people knowing me as the decluttering girl, often people will say to me, please come declutter my playroom. I'm like, no, you must declutter your own playroom. But the reason I tell people I'm not going to come do it for you is because it totally disenfranchises the person. So 1 week later, when your kids or your staff or your husband or you yourself don't know the system, you're back at square one. I don't have the authority to come into your playroom and start chucking out toys. Maybe I'm chucking out the 45-year-old family heirloom hand-sewed monkey that all the children of the family slept with, and I just think it's like a schmatter. The authority is on the person. Just couch that for a second. I do give instructions when it comes to decluttering your closet or your kitchen or your pantry or your playroom or whatever. I say like this: don't waste time standing in front of your cupboard. Let's just talk about a cupboard because we're all women here and the struggle is real. Don't stand there in the morning or the afternoon or the evening debating it. Just take every single thing out and you put it on the bed. And then instead of going, should I throw this away or this away? You say, that I love, I'm putting it back in the cupboard. Those shoes I wear every single day of my life, I'm putting them back in. And before you even actually start throwing very delicately placing things back into the cupboard, what do? You notice that there's actually dust on the floor where your shoes were. And there's like that cream that you were going like this with every day, and it's so handy, it's actually squirted out the back, and now there's like congealed hand cream on the back of your shelf. You take the wet wipes, and now what started out as like I'm just going to clean is turning into a whole situation. The shelves are being cleaned, and then you get in the zone. This is like a real term, the zone. I didn't know it was. It's called flow. And then 2 hours later, you're like fixing your hairs in a bun. You literally carrying refuse bags down the stairs. They tied to your ankles to get God forbid you should go up and down the stairs more than once. And you come back to your closet and your room, and you open the closet and you're like, this is a boutique store. In my bedroom right now is a boutique store. Look at these magnificent. I wear that every day. I loved it. So recently there was a woman, a Rebbitzin, who came to Joburg. And she spoke. And I actually could have listened to her read the phone book because she has the most magnificent British accent, and I just could have listened to her for hours anyway. But she happened to also be outstandingly smart. What she said was, are you guys familiar with the concept that on Rosh Hashana, Hashem obviously decides everything about your life? But it's not only if you're going to live or die. He actually decides your whole parnosa for that year, your whole entire financial income for the next 12 months is decided on Rosh Hashana. The scales are put into balance about what is going to be the metric weight of your life for the next 12 months. But how does that work? And more importantly, how do we approach Rosh Hashana and stand on Rosh Hashana having best prepared to get what we want? Because if you think about the closet analogy, by doing that, it's preparation for tomorrow when I wake up and I've got to be at work at this time and at gym. No. So I actually only want to spend 7.5 minutes getting ready, and I want those 7.5 minutes to be totally effective. That's why I spent 4.5 hours on the Sunday doing all the hard graft, right? So what is the proverbial hard graft for Rosh Hashana, and how does it work? This is the moment, this cusp moment between the last day of the year and the first day of the new year is really the only moment in time that you can look back on the past 12 months and know with total clarity what was decided for you last Rosh Hashana. But in that cusp moment of time, that like blink of an eye, you can know with absolute sincerity and clarity, this is what God intended for me, because it's happened now. So exactly 12 months ago, that's what he decided was going to be the metric weight of my life for those 12 months, which are now the past 12 months, but last Rosh Hashana, they were the future 12 months. What am I going to do to ensure that the next 12 months is the best that it is what I want it to be? I'm going to get to the point now. Hashem is saying to us on Rosh Hashana, I want you to empty out the proverbial closet of your life. I want you to spiritually declutter so that you can know with total clarity what is right for you, what works for you, and what you want. So this kind of analogy of clothing, which in many ways is very holy and there's so much to it, but it's also very rudimentary. You can't walk around naked. You've got to get dressed in the morning. If so much thought and effort and feelings and intellectualizing and time can go into that, how much more time and preparing must go into the spiritual decluttering of our lives, our minds and our hearts, our soul. Think about children, okay? Children that you have or know, or friends' kids or whatever. Think that there's two kids. If there's one child who, every time, I'm just thinking about my kids, every time I give them the scrambled eggs, they say, oh, thank you, Mommy. And then when I say, like, darling, come, it's time for bath, and they jump in the bath, they're like, this is such a warm bath. And then the other child, I give them the eggs, and they're like, this is not what I wanted on my eggs. These eggs are too yellow. Which child are you more inclined to, when they come to you so sweetly and so humbly and say, Mama, please can I have more Weetabix at 4 a.m? Which child are you more inclined to say, like, oh, come on, sweetie? Obviously, you love your children the same, but it's much easier to schlep out of bed and go downstairs and turn on the lights for that child that's going to be like, these are the best Weetabix I've ever eaten in my life, Mama, thank you so much. It's the same with God. God is our Father, archetypical and otherwise. If that's how I feel as a mere mortal, a mere human being, flawed in galut about my children, can you imagine how Hashem perceives us? Okay, so now take these two concepts. This concept of it is much easier to give to a grateful person than it is to give to an ungrateful, negative person. Okay, and this idea that you've got to prepare for things to work. Let's put those two together and say, right, I'm gonna spiritually declutter before I stand there on that moment of cusp in time. I'm going to take every single thing that is in my life and I'm going to take it out the closet and I'm going to put it on the bed. And instead of looking at the things that I don't want, I'm going to look at those things that I do want. And I'm going to look at them and embrace them and describe them to myself. Acknowledge why it works for me and why it nourishes me so much and why it is so important to me and why I love it so much. And then I'm not just going to throw it back in the closet. I'm going to notice all the marks in the closet and I'm going to wet wipe them. I'm so lucky to be married. Many people are not married. Many people are desperately searching for a shidduch and they're struggling and it's awful. I'm also going to say, my husband is like this and like this and like this and like this. And my husband works for me in the following ways. And I love him because of this. And. And then I'm not just going to slap him back in my house and be like, you stay here. We ain't going anywhere. This whole marriage thing, we're doing it again for the next 12 months. I'm going to be like, what can I do? How can I make this house the best for you? And each thing that I take off that pile, as I look at it, I'm going to do that with each thing in my life. And when I say thing, I'm talking about my phone, Because if I don't thank Hashem for this phone, why should He give it back to me? And I'm talking about my children. Until I've done all the work and I take a step back and I look at my closet of my life and I'm like, this is a boutique store. This is the best store of clothing I've ever seen in my life, because this store of clothing, every single thing in this store is available to me for free. I can put it on right now. And every single thing in this store fits me. And it makes me look good. And I don't have to worry about SNES complications. And. But on a macro scale of my entire life, look at this proverbial closet of my life. I've decluttered everything and I've put back into the proverbial closet of my life only the things which I absolutely love and adore and work for me and nourish me. This package over here, this boutique life package, was tailor-made for me. Hashem is actually saying to us the following. He's taking everything away from you in that moment, this cusp moment that I keep referencing, and He's offering it back to you. But He wants to see if you want it back or not. Now, what if you don't like some of the things in your life? So I have an idea. When you exit your closet, you can't be like, I'm editing bras, because last time you wore that bra, it cut you here the whole night and you actually couldn't sit right. So now you're like, I'm done with bras. We can't say, I'll put your bedtime, because that's obviously what I was going through that week when I wrote this. You can't just be like, this works and bath time works and story time, but bedtime, so we're quiching bedtime. Some things are not pleasurable, but they are necessary. My whole life is right now. Do you know of any other life of yours that exists elsewhere? No, you're here right now, that's it. So what can you do with that? Just like what can you do with yourself? You can make yourself, you can make the moment, you can make the bra the best version of itself. I cannot chuck bedtime. The children have to go to bed. Okay? So, I take, and that's Elul, by the way. It's easy to take the perfect black dress and put it back in your closet. It's easy for me to say, Hashem, do me a favor, please don't not give me back my husband. Don't even take him away. That's obvious. It's not so easy for me to say, those 45 minutes before my kids fall asleep are so tense that I need about an hour and a half afterwards, half a glass of wine, yoga, and meditation to recover. I know that I need those 45 minutes because they are fundamentally important to the entire framework of my life. And then I look at the bedtime and I say, that's it. It's staying. It's a default. If all I have is bedtime, let's say it's bedtime right now. If all I have is bedtime, that's my whole life. My whole life is bedtime right now. How can I make this into something that I would want to put back into the proverbial closet? If you can acknowledge that you need something, it is much easier for it to be a yes. So I give workshops, and it came up about stockings in workshops. So this girl said to me, my stockings do not spark joy. In fact, they are a source of contention in my life, constantly. Without fail, on the days I'm running late, the stocking has a hole. It's just a given. And in summer, I'm hot. And in winter, they've now been stretched out, so they fall in. Like, this does not give me joy. And I think that is, number one, this idea that you can't chuck bras. Okay? You need stockings. So part of our work of becoming the highest version of ourselves, of becoming an elevated human being, is to say, I'm not 4. I am above 3, I'm above bat mitzvah, I'm above all these things. And at some point in time, which is the huge premise of being a yid, is taking responsibility. And part of taking that responsibility is looking at the thing and saying, this might not be pleasant, but it is necessary. I heard the most unbelievable talk also years ago. And she said she used to be this person who believed that if the robot was red, it was because someone else at the cafe was buying a lottery ticket and that robot was red so that you could get a little bit later to buy so you could win the lottery. And that's why the robot was red. Every cloud had this beautiful silver lining and you were going to just drench yourself in the silver and it was going to be so sensational. And then she grew up and she realized that's junk. Most clouds are awful, but every cloud had a purpose. That is the difference between living in a child's mode versus living in an adult mode and saying, okay, there's certain inalienable truths I have to accept about being alive. And that is, not everything's going to be nice. A lot of things are going to suck. Certain things are going to be difficult and tiring and uncomfortable. I'm a Jew. Everyone is going to look to me for the answers. So if I'm not working on myself constantly to figure out the best way to do things and the correct path of doing things, how's anyone else going to know when the time comes? So to say, like, it's necessary, but I don't enjoy it. Rosh Hashana is not about the new year. It's actually a 24-month cycle that you're constantly in with yourself. So this Rosh Hashana is about the past 12 months and the future 12 months. I'm in this cycle all the time. So in that moment, when you know everything that was meant for you, everything that was destined for you, everything that was ordained for you, and you can kind of look back and understand the thread of your life, for me, that gives me confidence to say, whatever's coming for me in the next 12 months, there's probably a higher purpose. Okay, so this is the exercise. This is what my friend taught me. So basically, on Rosh Hashana, you're not actually allowed to ask for things. And you can kind of ask for things loftily, like for the community, but it's very sort of airy-fairy and it's very difficult to get around it. But the whole thing of Rosh Hashana, the davening, I'm talking specifically about those 2 days standing in shul, is like praising of God. So it's hard for us to relate to that, okay? Unless we can be like, you gave me this, and you gave me this, and you gave me this, and you gave me this. So what my friend made me do is she made me write a list. That's going in prepared. That's going in prepared and saying, thank you so much for the eggs, and you put tomato sauce on the eggs, and I ate them, and I was so hungry, and it was so wonderful, and thank you so much for the stockings, because I really hate wearing stockings, but I still have the stockings, and I'm so lucky to have them. So that is why we have pen and paper, and I think we must just start our lists right here and right now, because I certainly am not going to have time in the week. And I challenge you all to add 3 things to your list right now.